Hello and welcome to a video that I probably should have uploaded a while back, but I didn't. So, you know how these things work. Between all the stress of work and actually trying to find more work and bills and family and assorted bullcrap, I haven't really had the chance to sit down and make a video. That's the problem. You know, a lot of these people on YouTube, that's all they do is they just make YouTube videos. I'm just a normal guy in his 50s trying trying to talk about video games. So, you're not going to get a lot. But one thing I did want to do was make a best of the year video because why not? It's one of my favorite things to do. I love ranking things. I think it's the OCD in me or the autism or whatever. Who the fuck knows? I just love ranking stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the top 10 games of 2025. And there's a few things I want to go over, a little bit of housekeeping before we get into this. First things first. Um, this has been a really good year for gaming. I do have to admit, one of the absolute best years for gaming. There's been so much, even a lot of games that I didn't like, that weren't my, cup of tea. They came out and there were games for everybody, for every taste, for every age bracket, for every skill level. This year was just so full of incredible games. I didn't even have the money or time to play a lot of them. So there's some games on here you might not see, and you might say, well, why didn't he play such and such? Why didn't he play Where Winds Meet? That was such a good game. Well, I didn't play it because I didn't have time and I never got around to it. So I'm one man who unfortunately, has to work a 40-hour week. So I don't really get a lot of gaming time. And when I do, it's usually spent with a game that I'm intensely focused on. And I usually spend like a month or a month and a half on it until I beat it. So, anyway, yeah, great year for gaming. And another thing I want to go over is I'm just going to get this out of the way. The game Claire Obscure uh, Expedition 33, we'll just call it Expedition 33 from now on. It's a great game, and I love what it did for the hobby. You have no idea how happy I am to see that game succeed. For an indie developer to go and show all these triple A uh, development studios how to do things and do it the right way and make a turn-based JRPG, which is something you don't see too much of anymore, especially from Square. They don't like to make them turn-based. It just did so much for this hobby and so much for the JRPG genre. In I know it's not a Japanese game, it's a French game, but it's still a JRPG. It did so much for the JRPG subgenre that I will always adore that game. And as much as I do love it, the graphics were awesome, the music was gorgeous, the story was even good. Here's the thing, it's not going to be on my top 10 list. I honestly did not like the game. I tried to. I bought it. You can read my review of it on my Steam page if you want to. And I do apologize. I'm not saying it's a bad game because it is quite good. I am just too old to do the combat. The combat is too Souls like. And I actually had a discussion with one of my best friends, Emma. And me and her were talking on Discord last night while we were watching the Game Awards together. We were really watching it because we were hoping Half-Life 3 was going to be announced. But me and her were talking, and she was saying how she hates how soul stuff is put into every single game now, and it's starting to kill gaming. And I told her I agree. I didn't like the Souls parrying and dodging mechanic. It killed the combat for me. I played it for about maybe 5 or 6 hours, and I uninstalled the game. I just couldn't do it. And I know what you're saying, get good, get good. But when I play a JRPG, I'm the kind of person that likes to have, and you can laugh at this because it's so cringe. I like to have an iced tea in my hand, drinking, while, usually playing the game by just hitting the confirm button with my right thumb, and just sitting back and relaxing. That to me, I can play Dragon Quest like that. And it feels so good. I can go and play Xenogears or Chrono. Well, maybe not Chrono Trigger. That can be a little bit. But the point is, I like to be able to sit back and chillax with an RPG, especially JRPG, and I could not do that with Clair Obscure Expedition 33. I could not do it. So I just had to uninstall it. I appreciate what it did. It's going to make the AAA development houses work harder. It's going to bring back turn-based RPGs to the forefront. I love it. Thank you. Beautiful. Great for them. I'm happy for those crazy French people who went out and risked everything to make the game of their dreams and succeeded. Love it. It's just not my game, and it won't be on my personal top 10. I'm sorry. So, because I know if I don't have it on there, people are gonna like I'm gonna get 50,000 downvotes. Not that I really give a shit, but people are gonna sit there and be like, "Oh, how dare you?" Because when I was boilerplate back in the day, and I said that I hated Planescape Torment, I got a lot of hate from that over the years. Nowadays, it's just it is what it is. I expect everyone to hate me by default. I'm just trying to say this is why the game's not gonna be there. So, with that out of the way, with that housekeeping done, okay, let's get to the nitty gritty here. All right. So, uh, top 10 games of 2025. We're going to start with number 10. We're going to start with number 10, and number 10 will be, and this is probably going to be a little bit controversial, Oblivion Remastered. Now, I know Oblivion Remastered is buggy as crap. It's a game that some of my friends out there don't like. I know one guy, it's his least favorite Elder Scrolls. I get it. And I had a lot of problems getting the game to run at various times because it does not like the brand new 9000 series AMD cards. It does not like them. So every time I update my drivers, something else breaks in that game. But even still, I actually did enjoy it. I think it's a great idea. They kept the game exactly the same. They did add a brand new armor set and a couple little bonus side quests, but it's pretty much the same game but in a different engine. Does it run like crap? Yes. But it looks wonderful, and I love the idea. I mean, I really enjoyed the game. I'm almost finished the main quest right now. It's just unfortunately the current AMD drivers. Let me get comfortable here for a bit. I'm going to talk for a while. The current AMD drivers don't like the game, and I'm not able to roll back because I need the current AMD drivers for a few other games. So I'm just going to have to wait until they kind of iron things out. But even still, like I said, it was a good game. I love the idea behind it, taking a beloved classic and improving the graphics, but keeping the gameplay and the progression and everything exactly the same. I mean, bravo for Bethesda. It's probably the best thing they've done since Fallout 3, because New Vegas was done by a different developer, so that doesn't count. So yeah, pretty good. I loved Remastered. I'll include that in number 10. Hate me for it. I hate myself for it. So, you know. Okay, coming in at number 9 would be Metroid Prime 4. Metroid Prime 4 I actually liked. I'm currently playing that right now, and you know I hear so much hate about Metroid Prime 4. People say, well, you know, you have to use an amiibo to get music in the desert area, and the desert area is unnecessary and too large. I actually do agree with that. And they say the game is a little too linear, and there isn't really that much backtracking like there used to be in the other Metroid games, and I do agree with that as well. I think what it is though is that Nintendo wanted a more Zelda-like experience for the game, because me playing Metroid Prime 4 it almost feels like a hybrid of Zelda and Metroid Prime. It really does, and I'm not really sold on that, but there are a lot of things I love about Metroid Prime. The music is great as usual. The graphics for a Switch 2 game. I mean, they say the Switch 2 is actually less powerful than the PS5, but damn, those graphics are good. I'm running it on my 4K 65-inch LG OLED C5 TV, the $1,500 TV I got a couple years ago, and that game looks gorgeous at 4K with 60 FPS. I mean, holy crap. That game on 4K on a good TV, it blows anything out of the water on the PS5. I was actually quite surprised for a I wouldn't say a launch game, but a first generation Switch 2 game to look that good. I can't wait to see what Switch games are going to look like in 3 and 4 years from now. So, oh, and the thing they talk about the like the Miles guy who's too talkative. He's actually not. They made such a big deal about the NPCs in that game being too talkative or too jokey. I didn't think so. I I have not seen. There are NPCs in the game that do help you in certain areas, but I don't think they're too talkative or they remove the immersion. So overall, good game. It's not as good as the other three Prime games. It's not as good as Metroid Dread, but it's decent. I mean, it's a lot better than other action games. I mean, I can't play Silk Song because I suck. But a Metroidvania like Metroid Prime, I can play that because it's a lot easier. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old. Okay, so moving on. Number 8 on my list. We are on number 8, right? Let me mark this so I don't forget where I'm at. Number 8 would be, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Verho, Curse of Faces. Now, this is an indie game. You guys probably never heard about this. So let me tell you a little thing about Verho, Curse of Faces, right? This game was made by fans of the Souls games and Kingsfield. It's sort of like Lunacid, right? But here's the big but. The combat is a carbon copy of the old PS1, PS2 Kingsfield games, which I'm a huge fan of. But yet the progression and skill systems are ripped directly from the Souls games. So you have the Kingsfield combat with the Souls games progression without any of that dodge and parry garbage that I hate so much. And that's why I didn't like Expedition 33. And you really get the perfect first person RPG. It's amazing that this game is not talked about. This was one of my favorite experiences this year. I got it about a month ago when it came out because I saw it pop up on my Steam and I was like, what? Another Kingsfield game like Lunacid? Sign me up. This game is way better than Lunacid, let me tell you. Nothing against Lunacid, but if you loved Lunacid, you're going to absolutely adore Verho. This game is badass. It's um it's basically it's basically if From Software made a Kingsfield game today using everything that they've established in their Soulsborne series. That's what it is. It honestly feels like a real From Software game. The character design is awesome. It's not really that difficult either. It's not like a super hard game. I did have a couple boss fights that were a little wild. There was this one guy, I fought him in front of the castle. There's this one boss you fight in front of the castle, and he's the ghost of like some mad king, and all the NPCs are dying trying to fight him. And you actually need to go on a subquest. The game doesn't really tell you this, but you have to find the subquest to get this scroll that will make him corporeal, that will allow him to be hit with your weapons. So the only way to actually beat this immortal, invincible boss is to go on the side quest, get the scroll, use it in combat, and then he becomes vulnerable. Still very hard though. So it's really awesome game. I highly recommend it. If you're in the first person RPGs, Souls likes, or the Kingsfield games, go out and buy that. Verho, Curse of Faces. Cannot recommend it enough. Okay, so enough fangasming about that game. Coming in at number 7 would be Raid Al Remastered. I'm a big fan of the Devil Summoner games on the PS2. I'm pretty much a big fan of all Shin Megami Tensei games, except for the last Persona game. I don't want to get into that. Um, but Raid Out Remastered is great because I was always a big fan of that. There's 2 Devil Summoner games for the PS2, and when I heard that they were remastering them, I thought, well, this is great. Not only to get it out to a better, not only get it out to a new era of gamers, but to change some of the things that were lacking. Get the graphics up to date. Get the maybe add some new quests, some new things to do. Make it have a better quality of life in it. And sure enough, that's what they did. Raid Out Remastered is a great game. If you're into the Megaten games and you love real-time combat, there you go. I don't know if any of you guys have tried it yet, but I'm telling you right now, go for it. Because if you're a fan of the original Devil Summoner, probably the only thing that you won't like, and I noticed this on the Steam forums, I have to say I do agree with them to an extent, is that I think they made the combat too twitchy, and they made the enemies too bullet spongy. Or maybe I should say katana spongy. But other than that, it's still a great game. It's still exactly like the Devil Summoner game on PS2, and I really thought they did a great job remastering it. Now you have another generation that can enjoy one of the best PS2 games ever made. So I would consider that my seventh best game of 2025. Okay, my sixth best game of 2025 would be Trails in the Sky First Chapter, which is the remake of the first Trails in the Sky game. Now, here's a little story from my past. I never liked these games. I tried to get into Trails of the Sky before because I was big into Dragon Slayer for the TurboGrafx. Could never get into them. I love the East games. I love a lot of Falcom stuff. I love Xanadu, but I could never get into Trails in the Sky. But when I saw that they had this really neat component in it where you can switch on the fly from real time to turn based combat, I thought, no, that's something I want to see. If I don't like it, I could always, refund it within 2 hours and Steam wouldn't care. So I went and bought it, immediately fell in love with it. The graphics are amazing. I think the voice work is good, even though I've heard people say they don't like the new voice actress for Estelle. I do. So I don't know. Your mileage may vary. But just that combat, they really have mastered the combat because you can just do, like, if you're just fighting trash mobs on the road, you can go and kill them in real time combat, no problem. But if you're going up against a boss or a very hard enemy that has a lot of hit points and a lot of really nasty attacks, then you can immediately switch to turn based mode. I think it's an. I mean, is there any other game that does that? Because I don't know of one. I guess in a way you probably could say DQ11. Well, no, DQ11 doesn't do that. They just have that. So I have a feeling that more games are going to do that too. They use this switch in the first real time mode into turn based mode. I think you might even see that in the next Dragon Quest game because it just works so well in this Trails in the Sky remake. And not only that, but I think the graphic upgrade has really helped too. It really brings out the story because even though I have no problem with the isometric graphics of the original, it just to me didn't really, because it's a really big story with a lot of twists and turns and a lot of drama, and it just didn't come off right when everybody's chibi. When you have all these little chibi characters running around isometric on the field, I couldn't get into it. But seeing the improved graphics in the remake, it just all came together for me, and I actually like it. I do plan to buy the rest of the series now when they remake them this way. So, pretty cool. Okay, so enough talking about that. We can't have this video last for 5 hours. Let me have a drink of coffee. Okay, coming in at number 5 is another indie game. I had Verho earlier in this list. The other indie game coming in at number 5 would be Ball Pit, or Ball X Pit. I don't know what they call it. This game is incredibly addictive. I normally don't get these kind of games, but one of my best friends had been playing it on Steam, and I knew this guy for 26 years, right? And I told him, I'm like, we're hardcore gamers. Why are you playing this, baby casual stuff? And he's like, no, dude, you got to play this game. It's addictive. It's really hard, and it's like Arkanoid. And I thought, what the hell? So I bought it, and he was right. I became instantly addicted, and I couldn't stop playing it. Could not stop playing it. It's really good. I mean, the only what it is, you go into this dungeon, right? And you find components to build your town up top. It's like some post-apocalyptic world, And you have to rebuild this town by going into this dungeon and rescuing more heroes that you can then play as them while you go deeper into the dungeon. You unlock new buildings, unlock new abilities, yada yada. But the gameplay itself, the combat, is actually like Arkanoid or Breakout for the old, the old Atari game Breakout, where your character actually bounces pinballs up and hits the enemies. And you can get all these special abilities like, that increase the size or the speed or the direction or have you shoot lasers, stuff like that. It's really addicting. I'm not a big fan of the town building mechanic. I think that part of the game kind of sucks because it just creates more of a time sink and you have to grind more to get these towns upgraded. Like you have to get the cities, the little buildings upgraded to be able to unlock new abilities that you need in the dungeons. So just artificially inflate your playtime, which I guess that's the whole point. But other than that, the game is really incredible. And for just a simple indie game, you're guaranteed to get a good 20, 30 hours out of this thing. And I think it's one of the better games that came out this year. It's very addictive. Maybe in a bad way, but you know, what are you going to do? That's what all video games are. They're digital crack. Okay, so moving onward, my fourth best game of 2025 would be Octopath Traveler 0. I had a guy on Steam, someone I added, kept asking me if I liked it, and I didn't know what to tell him. I really didn't because it's a good game, it really is, but you have to have liked the other Octopath games. One of my good friends, a former coworker of mine, for whatever reason he hates the Octopath games. I don't know why. I think he hates the art style. I'm not sure, but it's actually really good. If you're into the Octopath games, it's just more of the same. The only difference is you can make your own character and you have complete control over them, and you're building a new hometown because your character's hometown gets destroyed in the beginning of the game, and then you meet some of your friends you grew up with and are like, hey, why don't we build a new hometown? Right? Seems simple enough. And that's how the game starts. So you have one half of the game where you're building a new hometown for you and all your friends, and the other half of the game is you going and killing the soldiers and the elite generals that destroyed your hometown in the first place. So you're killing these generals that ordered the destruction of your town while also building a new one. It's really nice. I mean, it's quasi open world. The combat is the same as the other Octopaths. I think the graphics are great. Um, I love the HD 2D stuff. I can never get enough of that. The story is pretty decent. I mean, I don't think the story. Octopath 2 had the best story. That was really convoluted and dramatic. You do get some of the characters from Octopath 1 who join your party, which is pretty cool. I think overall, it's one of the better RPGs that came out this year, and you really have to like Octopath to get into it. So if you didn't like it, then if you didn't like the first two, you're not going to like this one. But I think for another Octopath game to further the lore of the world and to keep it healthy, I guess you could say, it does its job. It's really good. I'm currently going through it now, and actually, here's the funny thing: even though I hated the town building mechanic in Ball Pit, I actually like the town building mechanic in Octopath because it's kind of linear. Like it doesn't really let you do things until certain story arcs. Like you'll have like right now I have enough radiant stones to upgrade my town, but it won't let me. It says you can't until you complete the next chapter of the main storyline. So the game, I'll be honest, the town building mechanic is just a railroaded in, very hyper linear experience. You're not really building a town, you're just doing what the game tells you to do. So for someone like me that doesn't really want SimCity 2000 in their game, yeah, it's pretty good. So okay, so that gives us the top 3 games of 2025, the creme de la creme, as they say. I think only I say that. So coming in at number 3, another Switch 2 game that I really loved, Donkey Kong Bonanza. Now, here's the funny thing about Bonanza. I actually didn't get it when it came out because a lot of people, including who's that one guy I actually unsubscribed from him, Synthetic Man. Now, I'm not trying to down the guy, but I did subscribe to him because a couple friends had recommended him on YouTube. But he's just so negative, and he's really buying into the SJW Gamergate 2.0, 3.0 stuff, and I just don't play that silly game anymore. And he's like, "Oh, Donkey Kong Bonanza, it's a baby game. It's casual. It treats the player like they're retarded. Yada yada." So I didn't buy it at first. I thought, "Well, I don't want that." But then I was really bored one time. The only games on my Switch 2 that I had on my Switch 2 were the Bravely Default remaster, which really wasn't that good anyway, and Mario Kart World, which I didn't like either. And I thought, well, let's just get Donkey Kong Bonanza before Prime comes out and see how it is. And I instantly fell in love with that game. I don't see where it's so babyfied. I mean, it's not super hard. I mean, it's not, Mario 64 quality or anything, but I think it's really nice. The music's great. The idea of smashing into the ground and creating pathways and doing like Minecraft level digging and finding treasure is just very addicting. And Donkey Kong, I like his mannerisms and his sound. And the whole thing with Pauline, with her singing, is so incredibly cute and heartwarming. I absolutely love it. It's such a positive. It's a great. If I'm feeling down, if something has me stressed out, I've been playing Bonanza just to like recover from stress. That's what I've been doing because it's just such a sweet and perfect and really family friendly, lovely little game. Is it the greatest platformer of all time? No, no, it's not. But it's fun and it's relaxing and it's cute, and Nintendo really hit the sweet spot with it. I think it's a game that a 5-year-old could play on their own, but it's a game that a 55-year-old that loves Nintendo could play too, and that's hard to find. So I got to give them credit for that. Okay, so coming in at number two. Let me have another drink of coffee here. Coming in at number two on my top 10 of 2025 would be System Shock 2 25th Edition Anniversary Remaster. That's a mouthful, isn't it? So here's the funny thing. I bought that game because I'm a huge fan of System Shock 2. It's one of my favorite shooters of all time. Um, and I thought, well, that would be great. I would love to go through it again because it's kind of temperamental to run on modern Windows. I've tried to do it before on Windows 10 and 11, and it's always crashing or I'm always getting graphical glitches. Could be that I'm just stupid. I don't know. So I thought, what the heck? There's not much of a change in it. They did improve the character models and whatnot, and you can run it in widescreen resolutions. So I bought it around the 4th of July weekend this year. And I can remember just nonstop playing it. The only time I played it the entire weekend and went through the game in about like 10 hours. And it was just the only time I stopped was when I went out to see the fireworks on the weekend because there's a lake behind my house, and I can actually get out of my house and stand in the front, and I can just watch the fireworks right in front of me. So that's the only time I stopped playing, and then I went back and played it again, and I was so addicted. It's really great. If you've never played System Shock 2, you should get that remaster because it's so great. They don't mind that rooster crowing in the background. I have a bunch of unsavory types who live next to me who have a barn in their backyard, and it's annoying. They think they're farmers. But System Shock 2 this remaster was perfect because they didn't overdo it. They didn't make the graphics so realistic that it doesn't look like System Shock. They just touched things up just enough to make it look a little bit better instead of so blocky and muddled. It keeps the game exactly the same. It's exactly how you should do a remaster, and this is why I love Night Dive so much as a company. System Shock 2, without a doubt, one of the absolute best FPS RPGs you're ever going to play. And if you've never played it before and you want the definitive way to play it, that 25th anniversary remaster is the way to play it, without a doubt. Okay, so that brings us to the number one game of 2025. Do you know what it is? There's probably one game. I bet if you really know me, you know what it is. The one game I haven't mentioned yet, and that's Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD Remix, or whatever they call it. So, I played the DQ3 HD one last year. Absolutely loved it. Spent 100 hours on it. Almost 100% of the game. I actually played it to the point to where I couldn't play it anymore because I got sick of it. So I was really waiting for 1 and 2 more than 3 because 1 and 2 are actually the two weakest, maybe other than 7, the two weakest Dragon Quests. And I felt that what they needed to do was put more content in those games because those games were very early NES games and as such didn't really have a lot of content in them. And they, of course, did exactly that. Square Enix, they really knocked the ball out of the park with it. DQ1 especially, I know a lot of people have badmouthed it and said like, well, now it's unbalanced because you only have one person in your party and you can't heal, you have no one to heal status effects and you can get insta-killed. Yeah, DQ1 is a little difficult now because of that, but They added so much more of a story because the original DQ1, even in its Game Boy version, did not have much of a story. Now they've added a story. The princess actually is a real character that communicates with you and has a real purpose in the plot. You can actually get an alternate pathway to the ending where you can keep her instead of returning her to the castle, and you could adventure through the second half of the game with her in your party. So it's really neat. They did a lot to DQ1 to bring it up to modern standards. And DQ2, that's where the real changes were made. That game is long. I was shocked. I think I spent almost 100 hours just on DQ1, or excuse me, DQ2 alone. Not only did they add an extra character, they had the princess I think it's the Cannock, because it used to be that you would have her brother, but the princess would stay behind in the original game. But now she actually joins your party later on when he gets sick. And they added an entirely new mechanic where you can go underwater and explore the underwater world and find all these special pieces of equipment and unique items. And there's even a couple mainline story quests that occur only under the water because they bring the mermaids back from like DQ11, where the mermaids were a major faction within the game. Yeah, same thing here. So DQ2, I mean, 90% of the content in this HD remake of DQ2 is brand new. DQ2 was a very short game, just like the first one originally on the NES. And they take what was basically a 12-hour RPG and make it a 112-hour RPG. There's a lot of post-game content now too. You get a 25-level dungeon, post-game dungeon that you have to complete, and when you complete it, it opens up a alternate ending. And in that alternate ending is a alternate end boss, a secret third form of the end boss. And when you beat him, you get a very special ending that I will not spoil, but it is completely awesome, and I loved it. So yeah, overall, DQ1 and 2, amazing remaster. I think it's one of the best Dragon Quest games I ever played. I will die on that hill, not literally die, but metaphorically, because it is that good, and I highly recommend you guys go out and play it if you love old school JRPGs. It was my favorite game this year, and it ended up being one of my favorite DQ games of all time. I even like it better than the DQ3 remake from last year. I thought it was a much better game overall. So, there you go. That's my top 10 list for 2025. It was a very good year in gaming. Before we go, I'd like to say there were some games that I didn't really get a lot of time with. Outer Worlds 2, I played like maybe 6 or 7 hours of it on Game Pass, and I didn't really care for it too much, so that's why it's not on my list. I played Avowed about 75% of the way through, and it's not as bad as people make it out to be, but it was lacking a bit, and it was very repetitive, and after a while I just got to the point to where I couldn't stand to play it anymore. So yeah, there were games that could have been good that I even played the new Call of Duty just because I thought, why not? And I didn't really care for that either. So that's the year in gaming for 2025. Overall, it was pretty good. I'm really satisfied with how the industry is going right now. We're getting a lot of good games. Indie developers are finally getting what they deserve, getting the attention they deserve. So yeah, I hope you guys have a good day, and I hope next year is even better than this year. So we'll see what happens. Paladin Larec, signing off.